Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'll sing a small bhajan, Mataji, if time is there.
Please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
The bhajan is Bhaj Gauranga.
Can you see the screen, Mataji?
Yeah, we can.
Fine.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu, please go ahead.
Bhaj Gauranga, Kah Gauranga, Lah Gaurangera Naam Re. Bhaj Gauranga, Kah Gauranga, Lah Gaurangera Naam Re. Jai Jan Gauranga bhaje se, oye amara pran re. Bhaj Gauranga, Kah Gauranga, Lah Gaurangera Naam Re. Gaurang boliya do bahu toliya, nachiya nachiya bedao re. Gaurang boliya do bahu toliya, nachiya nachiya bedao re. Bhaj Gauranga, Kah Gauranga, Lah Gaurangera Naam Re. Bhaj Gauranga, Kah Gauranga, Lah Gaurangera Naam Re. Gaurang bhajile, Gaurang japile, hoye dukher absan re. Gaurang bhajile, Gaurang japile, hoye dukher absan re. Bhaj Gauranga, Kah Gauranga, Lah Gaurangera Naam Re. Bhaj Gauranga, Kah Gauranga, Lah Gaurangera Naam Re. Jai Jan Gauranga bhaje se, oye amara pran re. Bhaj Hare Krishna, jap Hare Krishna, le Hari ka naam re. Bhaj Hare Krishna, jap Hare Krishna, le Hari ka naam re. जग के सारे नामों में ये आए तेरे काम रे. भज गौरांगा, कह गौरांगा, लह गौरांगेरा नाम रे. भज गौरांगा, कह गौरांगा, लह गौरांगेरा नाम रे. भज गौरांगा, कह गौरांगा, लह गौरांगेरा नाम रे. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे. हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे. भज हरे कृष्णा, जप हरे कृष्णा, ले हरि का नाम रे. भज गौरांगा, कह गौरांगा, लह गौरांगेरा नाम रे. हरे कृष्णा नाम संकीर्तन की जय.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. That was a very nice, lovely Kirtan. So we'll start off with the prayers.
Prabhupada, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Tat Sat. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjala Chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamaya Dadati Swapadadikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimadi Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatade Satarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivatsadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Come on, everybody. Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare,
Hare
Hare.
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama, Hare
Rama, Hare
Hare.
Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare
Hare,
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you so much. Welcome. And today we will be entering the second module of Srimad Bhagavatam, first part. And as you know, today I will try and see what best we all can do as a journey together. Before I start off with this Canto 2, this Canto has 10 chapters, right? And the first chapter and the entire heading of this chapter is called the Cosmic Manifestation. So the first chapter which we will be talking about is the first step in God realization, right? And the second chapter we will be talking about is the Lord in the heart. And the third chapter which we will be covering in this canto is the pure devotional service. So why I'm talking specifically about these three chapters, besides the rest of them, which I'll highlight shortly. Let me just screen share for a moment. Priyadashini Mataji, sorry, I'm just overriding your screen share for one moment. I wanted the previous thing. So yes. So the first step in, can you see my screen now? Like, yeah, sure. So the first step in God realization actually means that we are talking about the Brahman realization. So this does not mean that we have to follow this order only, but generally Aham Brahmasmi, I am not the body, I am the soul. The very first concept, Brahman realization. A lot of this will be covered in the first chapter. The second chapter is the Lord in the heart, which is what? Which feature is this?
Paramatma.
Haribol, very nice, Mataji. Paramatma realization. And the third chapter talks about the pure devotional service, that is the change in the heart. So the ultimate realization, which is the topmost realization?
Bhagwan.
Bhagwan realization.
Yes, Bhagwan realization. So we also saw the shloka, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwaniti sapyate. So basically there are three levels of realization, and that is the gradual progression which many of them will make. Now you may ask, okay, if that is the case, should we first understand Brahman and then go to Paramatma and Bhagwan? Obviously the choice is whether we take the steps or the lift. And obviously most of us who are following Bhakti Yoga, in fact all of us here are following that, will take the lift and go directly to Bhakti Yoga. Now, one thing which we will have to understand very clearly in this chapter is thereafter from the fourth chapter, he is talking about how Krishna created, which means the greatness of Krishna is largely highlighted here. How he is the cause of all causes. What is Purusha Suksha? What is the incarnation? We will also talk about various types of incarnations, whatever is mentioned here, because the number of incarnation Krishna has, they talk about in terms of the waves, right? How many waves are there in the sea?
Ocean.
Even in the ocean. We barely will be able to count. So here we can't. So typically 22, 23 avatars are given. We covered briefly this in the first canto as well. We will again cover most of them here, and we will also have the specific functions of each one of them. We will largely cover Purusha Avatar as well. What are the questions by King Parikshit? We'll come to these questions and we will start this chapter and this canto also with questions. After that, we will also be talking about citing certain Lord's vision, and Bhagavan is the ultimate answer for all. This will be, in a nutshell, this second canto. So when I'm talking about cosmic manifestation, you will be wondering, why are we talking about cosmic manifestation? Why the term that? So when you're talking about the initial realization of Bhagavan, that is, prior to that we saw is Paramatma, prior to that the Bhagavan realization, the first one, which is the Brahman realization, the energy form, the highest form of energy realization. Can anyone tell me which form represents the highest form within the energy, which is the Brahman realization?
Brahma Jyoti.
Brahma Jyoti is one realization. But the highest form of that is the Virat Rupa. Within that categorization, Virat Rupa. I am not comparing the Virat Rupa with the Bhagavan realization. I am only comparing in the Brahma Jyoti itself, among the Brahma of the different realizations, the Virat Rupa is considered highest among them. Right? So
material, no, Mataji, it is material, no?
Yes, it is material. It is not present in the spiritual world. So in their category itself, Virat Rupa is considered because they try and relate and bring some form. It is still considered neophyte because, as I said, we are only considering this. So we saw this shloka and we've heard this shloka in the 18th chapter, right? Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Someone remembers this? Na sochati na kankshati.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu matbhakte labate para.
Thank you so much. So I will take only the first two lines. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na sochati na kankshati. People will get stuck here if you're just stuck here. Right? Mat Bhakti Labate Param, we will never be able to reach if we do not progress. So when does this happen? This will happen only when we have a chance of interaction with a pure devotee. Which is why it is said, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavam Ma Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sadurlabha. That means realizing that Vasudevam is by all, end all, means, end, destination, starting is not that easy. It's Durlabha, which is very difficult to achieve that. So is Bhakti Yoga difficult? If Bhakti Yoga is very simple, then why won't Jnanis and Karmis follow? So is Bhakti Yoga so difficult that we cannot follow? No, actually it is very simple, which is why we are following. It is very contradictory, right? What I'm telling, one side I'm telling it is difficult, one side we are telling it is easy. The point is, for people who believe, Bhakti Yoga becomes very easy because here Krishna is going to be the doer. For rest of the cases, they themselves or we ourselves will be the doers, so it is difficult. But for a non-believer, obviously where Krishna himself is not there, so Bhakti becomes a very difficult proposition to start. So with that note, we will start off with it. And the entire chapter, and before we get into the chapter, let's go to the invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So where did we hear this first?
First verse of the first canto.
Mangalacharan, first canto, first verse.
But when was this first, I would rather say, when was this first imported into our universe?
Veda Vyasa. By Veda Vyasa.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, but when, from
It is
where did Vyasa import this?
Brahma heard it, maybe, I think. First when he was doing the tapa.
Partly, Om is there. But this one I thought every one of us know. Narada taught this to whom?
Dhruva Maharaj.
Hari Bol, Dhruva Maharaj, very nice. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So all of us know this story, right? Dhruva story. So I'm not going to repeat. So what did Dhruva do? Did Dhruva follow Brahma Jyoti? Did he follow Paramatma? Did he follow Bhagavan? What was his realization? What process did Dhruva follow?
Bhagavan.
Yeah, but what was, Bhagavan realization, obviously, he realized Bhagavan later because of his contact with Narada. But the process he followed, if you remember, Pran Chaitanya Prabhu had clarified, was mentioning this earlier also, the process he followed was Ashtanga Yoga. But the difference is that he obviously had an interaction, so Bhakti was highly culminated into him. So the point, the sloka which talks about Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om, and I think rightly Mahesh Prabhu started off, Om comes is Omkara, which means Akara, Ukara, and Makara. And Akara represents Krishna, Ukara, Radharani, and Makara, which talks about us, right? Jivatma. That is Om. And it is the first syllable which comes out of the flute of Krishna, right? And that is called the Pranama mantra. So most of them will have Om. So then why does Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna? That is Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We don't tell Om Hare Krishna, right? Why do we not tell this? Om.
The entire thing is Krishna only, no?
Yeah, very nice.
Mataji, because it is a Maha Mantra and it has the auspiciousness of every mantra is imbibed in it.
Very nice. Who said that?
Mataji or Mamta.
Haribol. Thank you so much, Mamta Mataji. Yes, the entire Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is called the Maha Mantra. Every mantra starts with Om, but the Maha Mantra by itself inculcates all power, right? So it's like the Superman, super powerful mantra. So the Om is inbuilt into Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. So therefore, we don't start that with that. So what is this? Is like, they always tell Bhagavatam is so clear, right? And devotees are also very specific. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om. I already mentioned that it talks about Akara, Ukara, Makara, and it is the Pranama mantra, which we have read in Bhagavad Gita as well. Namo means obviously I pay obeisances onto. Bhagavate, right? Bhagavate means Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan.
Towards the Lord.
But now somebody will come and tell, Bhagavan only it is said, who knows which Lord? It could be this person, that person. It can be, Indra, it can be Chandra, or it can be this God. So very clearly, with no ambiguity, Vasudevaya, that means son of Vasudev, called Vasudevaya, who's none other than Krishna. So the prayer by itself is very clear, very potent. That is why most of the time we start any lecture or anything, we start with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and go on. So this is about it. And translations, and someone read the translation of this, or please read the synonyms also of this, please.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Synonyms. Om, O my Lord, Namaha, my respectful obeisances unto you. Bhagavate, unto the personality of Godhead. Vasudevaya, unto Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Translation. O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport by Divine Krishna Prabhupada, Prabhupada Ki Jai. Vasudevaya means to Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Since by chanting the name of Krishna, Vasudeva, one can achieve all the good results of charity, austerity, and penances. It is to be understood that by the chanting of this mantra, Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya, the author or the speaker or anyone of the readers of Srimad Bhagavatam is offering respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the principles of creation are described, and thus the first canto may be called creation. Similarly, in the second canto, the post-creation cosmic manifestation is described. The different planetary systems are described in the second canto as different parts of the universal body of the Lord. For this reason, the second canto may be called the cosmic manifestation. There are 10 chapters in the second canto, and in these 10 chapters, the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam and the different symptoms of this purpose are narrated. The first chapter describes the glories of chanting, and it hints at the process by which the neophyte devotees may perform meditation on the universal form of the Lord. In the first verse, Shukadeva Goswami replies to the questions of Maharaja Parikshit, who asked him about one's duties at the point of death. Maharaja Parikshit was glad to receive Shukadeva Goswami, and he was proud of being a descendant of Arjuna, the intimate friend of Krishna. Personally, he was very humble and meek, but he expressed his gladness that Lord Krishna was very kind to his grandfathers, the sons of Pandu, especially his own grandfather Arjuna. And because Lord Krishna was always pleased with Maharaja Parikshit's family, at the verge of Maharaja Parikshit's death, Shukadeva Goswami was sent to help him in the process of self-realization. Maharaja Parikshit was a devotee of Lord Krishna from his childhood. So he had natural affection for Krishna. Shukadeva Goswami could understand his devotion. Therefore, he welcomed the questions about the king's duty. Because the king hinted that worship of Lord Krishna is the ultimate function of every living entity, Shukadeva Goswami welcomed the suggestion and said, because you have raised questions about Krishna, your question is most glorious. The translation of the first verse is as follows. Hare Krishna.
Correct. So this is a brief introduction, and before we jump into this chapter, as we all know that Parikshit calls himself as like Dvijabandhu, like a Brahmana. He also calls himself as same thing, right? With respect to a Kshatriya also, he calls himself, instead of the twice-born Kshatriya, he calls himself as a Kshatriya Bandhu. Why does he call himself as a disgrace to his community? When Parikshit is such an elevated king, and obviously he was a Vishnu Ratha, everybody knew it. In spite of that, he addresses himself as a disgrace to his community or to a Kshatriya or the lineage. Why does he say so?
Firstly, what is humility? Humility. And secondly, the act that he did in delusion towards the Shamika Rishi, probably that made him feel that he didn't act according to his elders' expectations.
Very nice. So he felt that the act he did was very offensive, mainly because of the fact nobody does that kind of an insulting work to a Brahmana, right? And actually, somebody like Parikshit is very, very unheard of, because Parikshit is not a person. A person's quality is judged by his experience of living, right? How he has lived. A person gets one time angry, you don't tell him short-tempered. You don't tell him he is hot-headed. Only when he repeatedly shows it, you call him, right? Occasionally, if someone shouts, he'll tell, I have no idea what happened. He's generally very calm. Exceptionally, today he got angry. No idea what happened to him. Maybe something was really wrong with him. Maybe there's more to this. This is how we will think. Same way, Parikshit is someone who's always been in his best of behavior and height of culture. And we all know that in spite of his knowledge in Vedas, he had always consulted by and large with his team, both Sadhu and Shastras, before taking a decision, which is what is reflected when he came to the Ganges, right? To the banks of Ganges. Even though it's his personal decision to fast till death, he's very clear. He's asking, why he asked them, are you okay if I'm going to fast till death, which is 7 days? Right? So this shows his greatness, that even a decision which is personal, he was such a great Raja Rishi that he inquired and was ruling his kingdom. He also feels that Sukadeva Goswami coming there is not coincidental, and it is also not because of his due credits. It is purely because of the fact that he had a lineage of devotees, especially Arjuna being his grandfather, was having a special relationship with Krishna. By virtue of this, he gets that bumper offer being born there, and therefore Maharaj Parikshit has been blessed to be, because of the lineage, he's been blessed, and therefore Sukha comes. So this is Maharaja Parikshit version, and people like me who read will start believing, oh, something wrong with Parikshit. Maybe he's an average guy. To clarify that, Sukadeva Goswami very clearly says that he is an exalted devotee from the moment he was born, and which is why he was there, and he also welcomes the question. Most of the time, I'm sure most of you will be feeling, when there is a question, sometimes the teachers will tell it's a very intelligent question. And in school, especially, they tell very stupid question. So, and I've been a personal victim of this. I never used to understand the difference between what is this. I have a doubt, I ask a question. How do I differentiate between intelligent question and a stupid question? Can one of you tell me, how do you call a particular question as an intelligent question? How do you, how do you categorize one as an intelligent question?
It is about the purpose of life towards the end.
Purpose of life, okay.
Based on the question asked.
Thoughtful, should be
That's what I'm
thoughtful.
asking. Based on the question only, how do you categorize broadly? Like how Prabhu told, if it is going to reflect purpose of life, then I will call it as a intelligent question. So next.
Yeah. It should be
It's related to
good for
Krishna.
everyone. Should be good for everyone.
It should be good for everyone. Okay.
It is related to the Lord.
Very good. Who said this?
Gunavati.
Gunavati Mataji. Hare Krishna. So what Guna said is absolutely right. So what we are talking about is, all of this is right. Purpose of life. In fact, Bhagavad Gita not only talks about, Srimad Bhagavatam not only talks about purpose of living the life, it also talks about the purpose of leaving the life, right? So that is one. Second, all of that, what you all said is right. But the fact is, all of this should connect to Krishna. So if there is any question which connects you to Krishna, irrespective of what is the quality of the question is called great because it involves talking about Krishna. And we are going to see shortly why talking about Krishna is glorious. And Prashna by itself is also great, which is why if you see, this question is called the Yagna Prashna comes. You would have known the questions like 100 questions or 125 questions. I don't remember the number. If you all know, you can tell me. Yudhishthira was asked by Yagna, Yaksha.
Yaksha, yeah.
Yaksha questions, right? And that's called Yaksha Prashna. It is not called Yudhishthira's answers. Normally the answers are called glorious, but here the questions are called glorious. Same way, whatever Parikshit asked, as Mataji, Vannu Mataji was also telling, yes, because it talks about not only life or death or the purpose, it also gives a very important point because it talks about others. Yes, it talks about others is a very brilliant point, which Mataji has said, but it talks about others with relevance to Krishna. That is why the question becomes great. Otherwise, what happens if you're just talking about yourself is what we are going to see in these coming chapters. So, before we dive into the first verse, I am going to, this is going to be a refresher exam, but my idea is not an exam. So, what are the questions which were asked by our Parikshit? What questions did he ask in the 19th chapter? Hare Krishna.
What is the duty of the person who is in the verge of dying?
Yeah, this is one question. What is the duty of a person who's going to die? Very nice. This is one. Others?
And generally all of them, for
All of them.
all of them.
What is to be done in all occasions, right?
Specifically for him and for others, yeah.
Yes. In all occasions, what is to be done? What is the duty of a dying man? Right. So these were the two questions which he asked to Saunaka Rishi. I think there was when I saw the question paper for a moment, I got, oh my God, what is this? Though we've read, did you all realize it? Because I felt it for a moment. When Ram Prabhu's question and answers came, he said specifically questions to Saunaka Rishi, which were these two. He also asked what were the questions to Sukadev Goswami. So what were the questions which he asked to Sutta Goswami? Your answers are right. I'm not telling they are wrong. I'm just trying to add a little more to it to understand, because that is where we will have a connect right here. So, so what is the so specific to Sutta? What are the questions he asks?
There are two questions.
Ah.
One is for general, what should all do?
Ah.
One is specific for him, what he has to do at the time of he's dying now. So what should I do now?
Correct. These are the two questions which he asks Saunaka Rishi.
Yeah.
He also asks questions to Sutta.
This Parikshit Maharaj asked.
Both the set of questions are asked by Parikshit only. The reason I'm repeating that is because our chapter here starts with this. Particularly this, our chapter, that is the second chapter, will be starting with these questions, because these are the questions which Sukadev Goswami will have to answer. So your two questions were questions asked by Parikshit. Both cases are asked by Parikshit to Saunaka Rishi. So what are the questions he asked Sukadev Goswami?
So Parikshit Maharaj asked Sutta Goswami, no?
Not Sutta Goswami.
Shukadev Goswami. Shukadev Goswami.
Sukha only. But
Shuka.
Yeah. So specifically, what were the questions?
The first question which he asked was to show the way of perfection for all persons, especially for one who is about to die.
Correct. Perfection of life. Yeah, this was one question. Both are very similar, but he specifically asked what way of perfection of life, especially for the one who's going to die. Nice. Another one.
Another one about what a man should hear, remember, or chant, or worship, and also what he should not do.
Do's and don'ts. Yeah, do's and don'ts.
Do's and don'ts.
Bang on. Very nice. So specifically, he says two questions very clearly is what is the way of perfection for all persons, especially the one who dies, which is a sum total of the two questions he asked Saunaka Rishi. And the next question is what he should hear: Shravanam, chant, Kirtanam, remember, Smaranam, and worship, Archanam. So, what specifically he should do, and more so what he should not do, right? So, this is something which he asked. What he should not do is the question which he asked. The reason I'm reiterating this is because the Shravanam, how it becomes important, Kirtanam, why it becomes important, is also covered in our previous chapter, which is in the first canto, 19th chapter, that Shravanam is the joy of Parikshit. But Kirtanam, that is speaking about the Lord, Sukadev Goswami gets this chance for the first time, right? He has heard Shravanam from his father Vyasadev. Of course, this is the one, everybody's doubt, right? Did Sukha go to school? Yeah, he registered like how we've registered with ISKCON Mangaluru. Sukadev Goswami also registered with the Vasudev School of Bhagavatam Sciences, right? So that is why he is a student of Vyasa. So he did learn because he first at the age of 16 runs off, right? But after that, he comes back. Do you recall that? Do you recall the story? What happens to Sukadev Goswami the moment he's born? What age he's born and what happens to him?
16. At 16 he was.
Yes. So he, at 16 years, he's in the womb of Priyadarshini Mataji. Can you briefly tell the story in 2 lines? What happens?
No, he didn't want to come out because he was finding this material world very terrible. He didn't want to come out at all. But once he came out, he ran. He started running. And of course, he was not at all clothed. And his father went after him, calling out for him. Then he didn't return. But then he told, Shukadev Goswami that he stopped at a particular point of time and said, you listen to Bhagavatam. And he actually told him, recited entire Bhagavatam for him.
Yeah. But unfortunately, Sukadev Goswami was very fast. Father could not catch. In fact, he was running and he lost him. And only the way Sukadev Goswami went off, Vyasa was really feeling overwhelmed because his cry and his tears were only heard by the trees.
Trees
He reflected it back. So
Yeah.
technically, Vyasa did not catch him back. But what happened is, why did Sukadev run away was because he did not want to, as Mataji correctly said, get tangled in the materialistic world. He was a jnani, right? So therefore he wanted to run. But he heard 2 shlokas, right? The 2 shlokas, one is Aho Bakiyam Stanakala Kutam Digvam Sayapadya Dada Sadvi Labegatintam Shinchitam Tatunyam Tamba Dayalum Sharanam Brajema, which means Putana. How come Putana, who fed poison to him, he gave the position of a mother and took him to Goloka? This is what is there. So he's stunned. Oh my God. How can, see, try and relate to ourselves. If someone does something which is very small to us, even very small, we won't be able to forget. 10 appreciations we will forget, but one insult stays for very long. Yes or not? For me, at least, it stays for a while. How many of y'all are very indifferent to it? Great, you're already jnanis. But does it not affect you? Yes? Does it affect only me, not any of y'all?
No, of
I
course,
don't take
yes.
it to heart, Mataji.
Very much.
Affects, right? Thank you so much. At least I have few company out here.
I
So-
don't take it to heart, Mataji.
Very nice, Mataji. You're already a jnani, but
No,
unfortunately,
not like that. I
it-
don't care for it.
yeah, it's nice if you don't, but normally what happens is we have this duality here, right? Good, bad, nice, not nice, friend, enemy. Right. See, the
It
point
shows
is,
their level, no, Mataji. It shows their level. Why should we bother about their level?
your thought is perfect, but I'm just explaining to you the overall thought which is explained here. Most of the time, when we talk about a friend, the natural tendency to have an enemy is also there because our material world is having a duality. But the fact which stunned Sukha is when he heard this, how can someone who gave poison, he's able to think of him as, a mother and give him the sthan of a mother, right? We call them as a maid, right? Or maid means not maid servant. I'm talking about the nani. That position he gave and took her to Goloka, and that is Putana. So that was like sort of built in his curiosity. Who is this guy? Who and how does he look? That curiosity comes. And immediately he hears one more shloka. Varnapitam Natavarabapu Karnayo Karnikaram Vibradvasat Kanika Kapilam Vaijayantin Chamalam Randran Venu Radarasuda Purayan Gopa Vrindet Vrindaramyam Swapada Kamalam Pavishat Gita Kirtibihi. total flat, right? Total flat. In the sense, he hears this. Also, remember, he's hearing it from Sushishas of Vyasa only, telling that, Barha Pitam, Barha peacock, right? Peacock, feather, all of them, Natavara Vapu, Karniyo, Karnikaram, right? Karniyo, eyes are so beautiful. Karnikaram, ears. Ears, you call that, na? There's a special earring which Krishna wears, like the fish, right? So that is very cute. And Vibrat Vasat Kanika Kapilam, his dress is so nice. Kapila Kapilam, Vaijayanti Chabalam, he's wearing a lot of jewelry called the Vaijayanti jewelry. And the speciality of this Kastuba jewel, why Krishna keeps it close to the heart, is all the pure devotees. I heard from one of the lectures which says that he considers the jewel. Most of the time we tell, no, he got this jewel from the ocean. No, not really. He considers that he's very close to him because all these are his pure devotees, right? So it's a representation of that.
Do we record this, Mataji? Are we recording this?
Yeah, it is going live, right?
But no need to record.
Isn't it going live?
It's going live Zoom.
Yeah, it is live, Mataji. YouTube, it is there.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Going live. Yeah. It is uploaded in the playlist, Mataji.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, Hare Krishna. So, Vaijayanti ka mala, right? Vaijayanti flowers. So, most of the time we'll be thinking, and I'll come to this. So, this is the beauty, right? Adarasura Purayam Gopa Vrinde, right? For all of them, he is like a sweetheart. So now Sukadev Goswami is confused. Who is this guy who's got this super quality and who's a superhero, right? This is so attractive because very rarely you will see both, right? We always have this English novel also called The Pride and the, what is Beauty and the Beast, or the Pride and the Prejudice. Right? Pride and the Prejudice. Because normally why they tell that is, wherever there is beauty, there will always be, of course, this is two different contexts, but I'm just saying there will always be ahankar, or if there is something called someone who's down to earth, there will be this thing. You'll be wondering why, because if you actually go through the qualities of Krishna, we talk only about 6 qualities in Bhagavan, but all the qualities are assimilated in those 6 qualities. So one quality is Krishna is an absolutely sweet talker. We have seen the Kaliya Natanam, right? In the Kaliya Natanam, when Krishna is dancing also, he does not, that movie villain dialogue will be there. No, see, you did this, I'm going to finish you. He doesn't say all that. He says very sweetly, he talks to Kaliya. He tells Kaliya, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to hurt you. I don't mean to stamp you. I don't have a choice because my Gopa friends are coming here. My cows are there. Because you're actually spitting poison and you're making them die, I have no choice but to kill you. I hope I'm not hurting you and I hope you don't feel bad. This is the kind of communication, though I can't communicate like Krishna, but I'm just trying hard to put in and keep up the mood. So that is the mood in which Krishna communicates. So why I'm bringing this up is, when we understand Bhagavatam, or when we hear Bhagavatam, or when we read Bhagavatam, we relate to what we like, especially what we feel, right? So for us, Kaliya Natana means Krishna, he dance, and like a Udra Natana, and therefore, struggling. That is how we perceive it. But actually, he does it in such a stylish way that even Lord Shiva and Parvati are having a conversation. And Parvati is telling Lord Shiva, telling that, do you know how beautifully someone is dancing? And the steps in which the Krishna dances also, like one right leg goes to the left, is something which is so beautifully explained, which I won't be able to appreciate. Maybe a dancer can appreciate. So all I'm trying to tell is, every bit of Krishna is understood in that bhav. And why I'm bringing it is that bhav is very clearly related and enunciated by Sukadev. Such a person now takes a U-turn and comes back and registers himself, like how we say London School of Economics. He goes and registers himself to the his father Vyasadev School of Bhagavatam, and learns this Bhagavata story. And then after all the hearing, he gets a first time chance to talk to Parikshit. And that is when he is talking to Parikshit, the whole story unwinds. When he is talking to Parikshit, when the story is unwinding, both of them got liberated, which means Parikshit, who is hearing, and Sukha, who is speaking. Because this was mentioned in the first canto, 19th verse. I'm bringing this up again because these are the concluding 2 questions. And now Sukha story I had to touch, because everything Sukha will start giving himself as an example for many things. So that is why I have to give an introduction on this. Thank you so much, and let's start our journey onto the first verse. Hare Krishna.
Text 1, yeah.
Yes, Mataji. So, Prabhu and Mataji, please start taking turns and read this.
Who is taking, Mataji?
Yes, Usha Kamat Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yeah. 2.1.1. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Sukha Uvacha.
Variyan Esha Te Prashnaha.
Variyan Eshate
Prashnaha.
Krito Loka Hitam Nripa.
Krita Loka Hitam Nripa.
Nripa.
Atmavit Sammataha Supumsam.
Atmavit Sammatah
Sammata
Pumsam.
Pumsam.
Shrotavyadishu Yah Paraha.
Shrotavyadishu
Shrotavyadishu yah
Paraha.
paraha.
Synonyms. Shri Sukha Uvacha. Shri Sukadev Goswami said.
Okay, no problems. Finish the synonyms this time.
Okay, Mataji. Variyan, glorious. Eshaha, this. Te, your. Prashnaha, question. Kritaha, made by you. Lokahitam, beneficial for all men. Nripa, O king. Atmavit, transcendentalist. Sammataha, approved. Pumsam, of all men. Shrotavya adishu, in all kinds of hearing. Yaha, what is. Paraha, the supreme. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, my dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial to all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists. Purport, even the very question is so nice that it is the best subject matter for hearing. Simply by such questioning and hearing, one can achieve the highest perfectional stage of life. Because Lord Krishna is the original Supreme Person, any question about him is original and perfect. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that the highest perfection of life is to achieve the transcendental loving service of Krishna. Because questions and answers about Krishna elevate one to that transcendental position, the questions of Maharaj Parikshit about Krishna philosophy are greatly glorified. Maharaj Parikshit wanted to absorb his mind completely in Krishna, and such absorption can be effected simply by hearing about the uncommon activities of Krishna. For instance, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that simply by understanding the transcendental nature of Lord Krishna's appearance, disappearance, and activities, one can immediately return home, back to Godhead, and never come back to this miserable condition of material existence. It is very auspicious, therefore, to hear always about Krishna. So, Maharaj Parikshit requested Shukadev Goswami to narrate the activities of Krishna so that he could engage his mind in Krishna. The activities of Krishna are non-different from Krishna himself. As long as one is engaged in hearing such transcendental activities of Krishna, he remains aloof from the conditional life of material existence. The topics of Lord Krishna are so auspicious that they purify the speaker, the hearer, and the inquirer. They are compared to the Ganges water, which flow from the toe of Lord Krishna. Wherever the Ganges waters go, they purify the land and the person who bathes in them. Similarly, Krishna Katha, or the topics of Krishna, are so pure that wherever they are spoken, the place, the hearer, the inquirer, the speaker, and all concerned become purified. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much. So very clearly, if you see the shloka, and in the shloka, it says Lokahita, right? So Lokahita means for the benefit of all men. That is address. Shrotavyadishu, all kinds of hearing which is included. And why are we highlighting these two is because the question and the answer are both linked to it. Specifically in this, he says that what is so great
Mataji,
about...
you are feeble, Mataji.
Can you hear me now?
Better. Okay.
So he says that the questions are so glorious, as Guna initially said, right? This is a subject matter related to Krishna. Anything related to Krishna is what, irrespective of whatever be the question, it is very sweet. And we also have seen Atha Shri Krishna Namadi Nabave Granamindriye Sevan Mukhe Jigvahan Swayameva Spurapada. So if you say the name of the Krishna, all of that, because Krishna's name, pastime, glories are not different. The Rupa of Krishna and the Naam of Krishna are both same. Srimad, specifically, if you see in here, we will be covering two things. One is called the glories of Krishna, right? So we are talking about that and the name of Krishna. So the fame and the name. Fame, we will read Srimad Bhagavatam. Name, we do the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? So both we are clear, we find. So when we say Krishna, his appearance, all these activities, whatever we are doing, they are not different from Krishna, including his paraphernalia, which talks about he and the devotees and all of that. So it's like Krishna is like bundle, right? We talk about ourselves also. No? If you like this person, I like this 9 qualities in the person, but one quality I don't like. But most of the time, what do they tell? They won't tell, okay, I'll change. Actually, they'll tell that it's a bundle. You have to take it as a bundle, right? But in Krishna's case, he does not have any quality bad. All qualities he has only good. This was also very beautifully explained when I'm talking about Bhagavan. Bhagava represent Bhagava. Two qualities of the 6 opulences are represented. Then what is A and represent? In Srimad Bhagavatam, if you see, or for that matter in Sanskrit, anybody who knows Sanskrit will be able to vouch. Anything which starts with a negation, na means not applicable. Same way, Bhagavan talks about 6 opulence of Krishna. What are the 6 opulences of Krishna?
Supremely knowledgeable, supremely rich, supremely strength, supreme beauty, supreme renunciation.
Correct. So all of these 6 opulence, right? And if you turn it and put na, that means that other than this, because all of that are coming in this classification, other than that, no other bad quality is possessed by Krishna. So that is why Bhagavan by itself, a single word is complete. And this particular verse specifically highlights that Krishna is complete by himself. And in this particular thing, Krishna actually, when you talk about the stories of Krishna, it is highly recommended, highly appreciated. And this is exactly what Parikshit did, which is why Sukadev Goswami, who is not attracted with anything, loves this concept. And he also glorifies not only the question, but going forward, he will also glorify Parikshit. He says very clearly to narrate the activities which are not different from Krishna. And therefore, by doing that, we will not only get purified, but we will also alienate ourselves from the material world. And this is so auspicious for both the hearer and the listener. So whenever we speak Bhagavatam, whenever we read Bhagavatam, why we say you sit in a posture, you think properly, because not only we are there, around us, when we are talking around us, though we cannot see, all the demigods are also interested. They also come here and sit, including Yamadharmaraja, including our Indradev, including Brahma, all of them come and sit and listen to us. And not only them, even Krishna comes and sits. Now you will ask, why does Krishna come in? Aren't we interested in being glorified? The only difference is that we like being puffed. We are so puffed up that we enjoy being appreciated. But Krishna is not puffed up. He likes being glorified because he knows very well the moment you start glorifying, your path is right, you're going to him. Which is why when Arjuna spoke, right, in Bhagavatam 2.7, Karpanya dosho pragata swabhavaha prichami tvam dharma samuda cheta echreyatam nichitam bhuvi tamme srisheshe sadi mam tvam prapannam. Until then, Krishna, who was cursing him, scolding him, using bad words, abusing him, smiles. Why he smiles is not the smile which we have. So for me, if I keep fighting with my friend, if my friend tells I'm sorry and surrenders, you know, the natural ego will come. I was expecting that is come. That is not Krishna's bhava. Krishna's bhava is very different. He's thinking, wow, he's now surrendered. I can now take him. Now for Arjuna, there is no problem. He's already taken. But I'm just telling that Arjuna was nimitta matram. He was just a tool for us to follow. So what was the beauty about Arjuna and Krishna? The relationship was so beautiful that the moment he said, he smiled, not because he took pride in his surrender, but because he took pleasure that he's coming on track and Krishna will be able to save. So all we need to do is just surrender. And how we can do that is just here. That's all we are going to talk about. So that is the first step which we are doing. And with this, let's move on to the second verse, text 2. Hare Krishna. Yes, Mahesh Prabhu, please go ahead.
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Indra
Nirnam Santi Sahasrashah
नृणां सन्ति सहस्रशः
अपश्यतामात्मतत्त्वम्
अपश्यतात्मतत्त्वम्
गृहेषु गृहमेधिनाम्
गृहीषु
गृहमेधिनाम्.
They continue with synonyms and
Yeah,
translation and
now we can move to translation and purport.
okay,
Here we will be talking about don't. Do's and don'ts, right? Priyadashri Mataji was saying here, don'ts. What you should not do is what he's going to start off with. Translation.
Translation purport by Sivananda Sabha Charanand Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor. Purport: in the revealed scriptures, there are two nomenclatures for the householder's life. One is Grihastha and the other is Grihamedhi. The Grihasthas are those who live together with wife and children but live transcendentally for realizing the ultimate truth. The Grihamedhis, however, are those who live only for the benefit of the family members, extended or centralized, and thus are envious of others. The word Medhi indicates jealousy of others. The Grihamedhis, being interested in family affairs only, are certainly envious of others. Therefore, one Grihamedhi is not on good terms with another Grihamedhi. And in the extended form, one community, society, or nation is not on good terms with another counterpart of selfish interest. In the age of Kali, all the householders are jealous of one another because they are blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth. They have many subject matters for hearing, political, scientific, social, economic, and so on. But due to a poor fund of knowledge, they set aside the question of the ultimate miseries of life, namely the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Factually, the human life is meant for making an ultimate solution to birth, death, old age, and disease. But the Grihamedis, being illusioned by the material nature, forget everything about self-realization. The ultimate solution to the problems of life is to go back home, back to Godhead, and thus, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 8.16, the miseries of material existence, birth, death, old age, and disease are removed. The process of going back home, back to Godhead, is to hear about the Supreme Lord and His name, form, attributes, pastimes, paraphernalia, and variegatedness. Foolish people do not know this. They want to hear something about the name, form, etc. of everything temporary, and they do not know how to utilize this propensity of hearing for the ultimate good. Misguided as they are, they also create some false literatures about the name, form, attributes, etc. of the ultimate truth. One should not therefore become a Grihamedi simply to exist for envying others. One should become a real householder, Grihastha, in terms of the scriptural injunctions. Haribol.
Thank you so much, bro. Very nicely read and very beautifully chanted. So coming back to we have basically do's and don'ts. So he's touching on the don'ts. So very diplomatically he's starting off with two concepts which we are very well versed in. Graha Medhi, and what we may not be very clear is Medhi actually means jealous, right? So Graha Medhis are generally jealous of people, and Grahasthas are those who live with a family but are linked to Lord, right? The family, there is a statement, right? The family which prays together stays together. So the Grahasthas are of that category who live with their wife and children, but they have a transcendental kind of a feel, right? Realization, they understand, they do Bhagavatam, they go to temple together and all. Grahamedis only focus on themselves. I have actually sometimes we will get confused. What is the difference? Externally, it will be like all of them are going out, they are also shopping, they are also coming back, they are eating together, they are doing. But the very nature of them, if you observe, right? And now that we know these two terms, we can go and not to explain to them, hey, you're a Grahamedi, you're a Grahastha, not to point finger, but for us to understand where they are and more to understand where we are, right? So the most important objective very clearly is to go back to Godhead. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. These are the four things which we should be done with, which is why everybody, if you say 8.16, it is what? Brahma Bhavana Loka Punar Avartino Juna Upetya to Kaunteya Punar Janmana Vidyate. Right from Brahma, right over there, whether you go or come down, we are simply going up and down. right from Indra till the Indra, that small insect is there, right? It's a very tiny insect. So all of them have a lifespan. Only thing the lifespan can vary from high. But material planets are always Dukalayam Ashashvatam. That is very clearly known. But in spite of knowing that, what we do, we are more worried about how I can break death by inventing a lot of medicines. Good. How can I reach old age? I can reach old age by dying from my gray hair to, black hair. Or, some different treatments are there in skin where you can actually go take that kind of a treatment, 3 months, 6 months, go abroad, do all this facelifting, all blah, blah, blah. And therefore you look young. But none of this is actually going to solve the problem. Okay, fine. I am going to become a scientist, go to space, put my foot down in moon, and I will be called Neil Armstrong. We don't even know who's the second guy who went to Neil. Anybody knows that? I wanted to ask. Does anyone know who was the second guy who put his foot on the moon?
Not interested to know, so that's why we never know.
Indian boy, Mataji. Rakesh, no?
I have no idea.
Rakesh.
Please enlighten. The reason
Rakesh Sharma.
yeah, very nice. So
No one knows.
class
No one
hardly
remembers him. No one remembers him.
Mahesh Babu, your voice is very soft. I'm barely able to hear you. Sorry.
I think it is Rakesh Sharma, my friend.
Okay, so good if you know.
Not Rakesh.
No?
Not Rakesh.
Never went.
So
No one remembers him, Mataji.
I'm glad you don't
More
know.
people who went after that. Nobody
more people
remembers
went.
other
Some people
15
went.
also.
The reason I'm saying all this is not to know who went to moon, but if you talk about devotees, if I'm telling you, name any 5 devotees, I'm randomly putting this question. Just give me the names of any 5 devotees.
You'll hear innumerable ones, Mataji. So easy question.
Keep the speaker here. Yes, bro.
Many.
Exactly, many. You will go on. Each of us will be able to give new 5 names, right? And
yes.
In fact, that's the beauty. It will just come with every alphabet, we can have a devotee. So there is no competition, you understand? And anytime you see any person, you go to any devotee's house, and I've noticed this. Anything you want, it's there. In the sense, I want to chant, they'll give you the book. I want to take rest, they will give you their bed. Have you noticed? Because I've personally experienced all this, and I've been to some of the devotees' house. You want food? They will also tell you, you want lunch also, dinner also, where will you eat? The kind of feeling they have is they want you to head towards Bhakti. They don't see you as competition. But whereas if you're working in an organization and you want an interview, I will not tell you. Even if, see, I've also seen people who are not even close but compete. One classic example is, I was hearing one of the stories which I heard recently. There was a child who was in 12th standard who had to submit a project work. He was mentioning that one of his close relative was actually suffering from autism, who was another small child, 10-year. And this fellow had done whatever what will a 14, 15-year child do to another 10-year child? You cannot expect the child to create a special home or a special education center, right? Whatever the child can do, give that small little pocket money, buy one chocolate. Imagine that level. That is all the child can do. Cannot do something like superhuman kind of an activity. So during a project work, this 15, 16-year boy the mother approached the mother of the autistic child, requesting a letter telling that he's doing a project of help, the basic help. So the mother said, no problem, I'll give. And this child, 15-year child, went and gave the project work, the name of the autistic child, submitted the report and all of that. And they had asked for a letter, which the mother has been following up, and she's been telling, yes, I will give. And for the past 6 months, she had not given a letter. And later, the father of this lady, the lady herself is about 40s, right? The father was probably in his 65, 70 year, calls and screams at the 15-year-old child's mother, telling, why do you need the letter? Why should we give the letter? She herself has problems. There is no relevance at all. This is a simple letter. Anybody you ask, they will just give it like it. The reason I'm bringing this up is so many times Namanishta Prabhu, without any hesitation, if anybody needs a job or even this small things, anybody needs SEVA, anybody needs any kind of thing, including if you want land up in Mangalore and you need a stay, even if it is not for the temple, he will not even hesitate. He will just be there for you. Right? If anybody has problems, Prabhu is always there. And it is not just about Prabhu. I'm taking Prabhu as the highest example because he's a president. In spite of that, needless to say, everybody are there for each other. But just imagine this is a small letter and your child is nowhere competition to the other child. One child is an autistic child who's 10 years. The other child has helped to whatever extent. Give a letter, how does it matter? But when they were telling, the mother of the 15-year child was was like speaking to me. She was grieving, telling that, I am asking this, nothing. And she sort of let me down. I'm feeling very bad. I don't know how will I face the teacher. She's also worried. And the father of the child starts yelling at the mother, telling, how can you do this? You're so irresponsible. You should have first taken the letter before you had given it to school. But why I'm bringing up all this is, can you imagine how complicated the material world is with a single letter? And there is so much of jealousiness that there is some child which is benefiting out of your child. Now give it now is what we will think. See, what will devotees think? Mataji, I want a chanting bag. Can you buy? Sure, Mataji, I will go and buy. The devotee will be so poor, but she will not even hesitate to go and buy the chanting bag. If they ask for Japamala, they will buy a chanting bag. They will even take prasadam. They will buy even a small gift and give. Have you not done it? If the moment somebody asks, can you buy me a mala, which is 20 rupee, most of the time we will either give a prasadam with that, or we will give a card with that, or we'll give a, I'm talking about people who are really at a poverty line. Do we do that or not? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So have we ever thought, oh my God, if I give Japamala, will he do more Japa and overtake me? Or, oh, Priyadashini Mataji, is PhD, then she will probably be able to keep up with us. So shall we not allow her to do? But we don't do that. Or, hey, what is this girl? This boy is, or this lady is only 8th fail and this boy is 4th fail. We are all, such all MBA, all educated crowd. Why should we get them that? Let them be, on the back seat. Such thoughts don't come at all. Forget about how sincere you are. Forget about how elevated you are. I'm not even getting into whether you're Uttama Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, or Kanishta Adhikari. I am talking about all of us at a neophyte level also don't see competition. Do you agree? How many of you all
That's
have
correct.
hesitated?
Yeah.
That's correct,
Chapa
Mataji.
mala, 20 rupee. No, I will not give. 20 rupee mala, if I give, will they give me 20 rupee? 20 rupee mala, if I give, will they progress? We don't even think. That thought also doesn't come. But why I'm telling you is this is how Grahamedis are. Even if the other person is not competitive, you're really bad. So my dad used to tell that a beggar is very jealous of a rich beggar, which is a fact, right? They sub-compete among themselves because the word, now you'll understand, jealousiness is so high among Grahamedis that even things where they feel they don't own, they get angry. You see, Parikshit, he was not angry with Kali. He was not even scared of Kali, right? When Kali wanted to rule his kingdom, he never thought, oh, Kali is powerful. What happens? He only protected those who were even scared of him. That was his kingdom. Whereas to think of Hiranyakashipu, who was a very powerful demon by himself. Even the demigods were scared. But he was so jealous of his own son, Prahlad, a small 5-year child, right? Some child is telling some lord's name, forget it, na, you don't like it, chhod do, yeah, let go. He could not, because he just could not digest the fact, how can that son of mine not tell mine? Indirectly, it is jealous, right? He is not able to take on that. Whereas Prahlad is so merciful that he wants even his father to get liberated. So he's trying to put efforts to fix his father in spite of going through hardships. This is the difference between, of course, these are examples of very elevated devotee, but I'm talking about people at my level also do not feel uncomfortable to get a Japamala or something because we don't see another person as a competitor. We always feel the other person as someone who will actually help each other, complement. That is the Baba of a Grahastha, and this is the Baba of a Grahamedi. So the first warning he is talking about is about Grahamedi. Don't be a Grahamedi. That is what he's saying. So let's move on to Shloka 3.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Nidraya riyate naktam.
Nidraya naktam.
Devayena chavavayaha.
Devayena chavavayaha.
Divacharte haya rajan.
Divacharte
haya
rajan.
Kutumba bharanena va.
Kutumba bharanena va.
Translation. The lifetime of such an envious householder is passed at night either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime either in making money or maintaining family members. Purport. The present human civilization is primarily based on the principles of sleeping and sex indulgence at night and earning money in the day and spending the same for family maintenance. Such a form of human civilization is condemned by the Bhagavata school. Because human life is a combination of matter and spirit soul, the whole process of Vedic knowledge is directed at liberating the spirit soul from the contamination of matter. The knowledge concerning this is called Atma Tattva. Those men who are too materialistic are unaware of this knowledge and are more inclined to economic development for material enjoyment. Such materialistic men are called karmis, or fruitive laborers, and they are allowed regulated economic development or association of women for sex indulgence. Those who are above the karmis, that is, jnanis, yogis, and devotees, are strictly prohibited from sex indulgence. The karmis are more or less devoid of Atma Tattva knowledge, and as such, their life is spent without spiritual profit. The human life is not meant for hard labor for economic development, nor is it meant for sex indulgence like that of dogs and hogs. It is specially meant for making a solution to the problems of material life and miseries thereof. So the karmis waste their valuable human life by sleeping and sex indulgence at night, and by laboring hard in the daytime to accumulate wealth, and after doing so, they try to improve the standard of materialistic life. Materialistic way of life is described here in a nutshell, and how foolishly men waste the boon of human life is described as follows. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So basically, we are all talking about the first 11 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam is going to talk about superiority of Bhakti. So we will be revolving around the same thing. So what is the don't, which talks about the Graha Medi? Entire daytime we will be running after money. Money, money, money. There's one song also. Sorry, I don't know if you remember, you can. And night he will either be sleeping or be focusing on his sense gratification. The most intelligent so-called Graha Medis conversation, if you have, you know what they will tell? They will talk as if they are saints. They will tell, do you have any idea? I have not done anything for myself for the past 10 years. Not a single thing I have bought for myself. Then whom are you buying for? Are you into charity? No, no, no. I'm doing it only for my spouse and my children. I have done nothing, and that they call and take so much of pride as if they are extremely sacrificing. No doubt, relatively, they could be sacrificing compared to a selfish mother or a father. But the bottom line, the same thing is done by everybody. The same thing, if you notice, even a monkey does. Same thing if you do, even a dog does. It takes care of the child, takes some food and gives to the child. Even a bird does. The reason we are saying this is because we should always remember whatever sacrifice is done, we think is a sacrifice for the family. But why do we do it? Why do we do anything for our family? Laptop bag long down.
Societal injunctions. Fear of society, Mataji.
Sorry.
Otherwise they will say this man is terrible. He does not take care of his family.
Mataji, that rasa bliss will get.
Bliss. Thank you. And Prabhu, sorry, what did you say? I could not hear.
I said we try to do it because we have fear for the society which says that this guy is terrible. He doesn't take care of his family.
Very nice and honest answer. So two answers. One is either out of fear for society, one set of people will do, or for bliss or happiness for ourselves we do. Beyond this, we don't have a reason. None of us do things for the sake of the so-called selfless thought. It is either, so if we are doing it for our family, it's not selfless. It is called extended self. So our family, our cousins, our relatives are all extended self. Okay, Mataji, but what about our India? You know that India IPL match, Prabhu was telling, Ramnishta Prabhu was telling that invariably when he visited one house, somebody was watching, I think IPL, I'm not good at cricket, so correct me on this. IPL match was going on and India was playing or something. India was playing or Chennai was playing, I don't know what. So immediately Prabhu was asking, what are you doing? Hey, chanting Prabhu, Prabhu, India, Prabhu, India, Prabhu. So, you know, the person was overwhelmed for the fact that it is India, but Prabhu was mentioning that is also sense gratification, because it's an extended self gratification. And in that I need not be only I, whatever, see, I does not mean Radhika alone. I means anything I relate to Radhika. For example, I can involve my daughter, which is in which is included in my thinking. It includes my car, it could include my house, it could include my pen, it could include anything where I relate the things to me, right? I and me. That is why if you see in Ramanujana Sampradaya, they're scared of using the word I or they only use the word adiyan, which means that I'm a servitor. So are we. If you see our initiated name, all our names are Dasi and Dasa, which means I'm a servitor. So conceptually, we address people as Prabhu, which means master, and Mataji, which means mother, right? With a lot of respect. The reason we do is we want to connect that respect factor, at least orally, and then we will get it into practice. Slowly, the jealousiness will get out of us. And largely, the idea of doing all of this is to remove the factor of I. The factor of I means anything I feel is I, mine, is coming under I. It can be my city, my country, my India is also there. You will be pretty much surprised when I had some of the level 2 sessions when I was conducting. I used to ask, how many of you all want to go to spiritual world, right? 2, 3 of them, many of them kept quiet. They didn't understand. Later they explained and they were convinced. But there were 2 of them who were bent upon telling we don't want to go to spiritual life. Because if we go to spiritual life, who will take care of the material world? And they were genuine. They were not people who were throwing weight or anything. They were genuinely trying to tell. So I said, listen to Bhagavatam. When you feel you want to go to the spiritual life, chapter 1, 2, 3, you tell. And I think one person came out of it in chapter 6. And another one came out of that thought and said in chapter 11, I think we have to go to the spiritual world. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam gives us that understanding which we do not have otherwise. And both of them very smart. One boy is from Australia. So he was like quite knowledgeable. It is not that he was very dumb and he was not a child. He was a post-college working guy. Another person the Prabhu was a very elderly person. The reason I'm bringing up this is because most of the time we feel when we are talking for the country, whether it is cricket or it is patriotism. Whereas, did you see Yudhishthira? And this comes in our Srimad Bhagavatam. No time did he say, I'm country cautious. He was only Krishna conscious. What is Krishna conscious? Being conscious about Krishna is that's it. And being conscious about anything else is anything else. So we should always remember that one successful thing is knowing Atma Tattva means knowing I am not just knowing I am not the body, I am the soul. All of us have jnana. I am not the body, I am the soul. We should always remember I am not the body, I am the soul, and I belong to Krishna. That will complete the Aham Brahmasmi. Just knowing that I am Brahmasmi is not going to help. Understanding where am I heading towards is where it is. So a karmi is someone who will always be involved in his fruitive work. Whereas a jnani is still better. You know why? Because jnani, at least to run away from the world, he will have self-control. 2 components very important for quick progress in bhakti. Can anyone tell me what are the 2 things which are required for heading towards bhakti? 2 very important qualifications for bhakti. Or not entry points. I'm not telling entry points. To make it faster.
Complete submission.
That is very advanced. I wish that was there. But that is a good point. Atma Nivedana. So that is fine.
Radha and no envy.
Correct. This is what Krishna says. No envy and Shraddha. But besides that, these are qualifications. If you have envy, it is very difficult to even progress. What is it we practice? From there you will get.
Steadiness.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Dhira or steady.
Steadiness. Steadily we have to practice Dhrida. But unfortunately, at least I am not practicing that as yet. So what is it? You're right. So what are we practicing? Steadily, what are we practicing?
Vaidhi sadhana. The sadhana.
Vaidhi sadhana. Yeah, you're there. Vaidhi sadhana. So we are practicing. What do we practice in Vaidhi sadhana?
Hearing and chanting.
Hearing and chanting and? Hearing and chanting is correct. Together one. Another?
Association of devotees. Association of devotees.
Yes, association. So all of that are coming under the 9 stages of bhakti and 9 process. Over and above that, one thing which we do.
Is it, Mataji, we should have the laulyam?
Laulyam should be there. Only then we will do that. But after we have laulyam also, like how Prabhu told Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, we are following the 9 stages of bhakti, 9 process of bhakti. In all of that, what do we do? What do we do in Ekadasi?
Fasting.
Sacrifice?
Sacrifice.
Uninterrupted.
Controlling senses. Exactly. So the speed at which one can progress is how much of self-control you have in terms of everything, right? In terms of not just the eating part of it, Vacho Vegam, in terms of everything. In NOI, we read that. Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jigva Vegam, Uttara Prashta Vegam, Etan Vegan, Visesha Dhiravas, Arvam, Abhiman, Paridi, Paridin, Shastishan. So Vacho Vegam. So 6 things which you have to control straight line, right? Not just the tongue for eating, but for talking. Mind, our senses, right? Our stomach, our genitals, everything we need to control. And that is followed by a jnana. That is followed by a yoga. That is followed definitely, automatically by a devotee, right? But karmis don't do that. So will a jnani progress? The jnani will not progress. A jnani does not progress because a jnani does not link to bhakti. He does self-control. But a combination of this and that will make the jnani progress. Just 1 second. Sorry, just 1 second. Yeah, and you can go to the 4th sloka. Somebody can read the sloka. Hare Krishna. No. Please read the 4th sloka, please. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Sloka Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yeah, yeah.
Who's reading Hare Krishna?
I
Hare
can read it.
Krishna.
Hillary, who is reading?
Anybody is reading, Mataji? I can't hear.
I can read, Mataji.
Please, yeah.
Dehapatye kaladradeshva
Ihapatya kaladishva
atmasenyeshva asatvapi tesham pramatto nidhanam pasyanyapi na pashyati. Translation: persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life. Being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife, although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. Purport: this material world is called the world of death. Every living being, beginning from Brahma, whose duration of life is some thousands of millions of years, down to the germs, who live for a few seconds only, is struggling for existence. Therefore, this life is a sort of fight with material nature, which imposes death upon all. In the human form of life, a living being is competent enough to come to an understanding of this great struggle for existence. But being too attached to family members, society, country, etc., he wants to win over the invincible material nature by the aid of bodily strength, children, wife, relatives, etc. Although he is sufficiently experienced in the matter by dint of past experience and previous examples of his deceased predecessors, he does not see that the so-called fighting soldiers like the children, relatives, society members and countrymen are all fallible in the great struggle. One should examine the fact that his father or his father's father has already died and that he himself is therefore also sure to die. And similarly, his children, who are the would-be fathers of their children, will also die in due course. No one will survive in this struggle with material nature. The history of human society definitely proves it, yet the foolish people still suggest that in the future they will be able to live perpetually with the help of material science. This poor fund of knowledge exhibited by human society is certainly misleading, and it is all due to ignoring the constitution of the living soul. This material world exists only as a dream due to our attachment to it. Otherwise, the living soul is always different from the material nature. The great ocean of material nature is tossing with the waves of time, and the so-called living conditions are something like forming bubbles, which appear before us, bodily self, wife, children, society, countrymen, etc. Due to a lack of knowledge of self, we become victimized by the force of ignorance, and thus spoil the valuable energy of human life in a vain search after permanent living conditions which are impossible in this material world. Our friends, relatives, and so called wives and children are not only fallible, but also bewildered by the outward glamour of material existence. As such, they cannot save us. Still, we think that we are safe within the orbit of family, society, or country. The whole materialistic advancement of human civilization is like the decoration of a dead body. Awesome. Everyone is a dead body flapping only for a few days, and yet all the energy of human life is being wasted in the decoration of this dead body. Shukadev Goswami is pointing out the duty of the human being after showing the actual position of bewildered human activities. Persons who are devoid of the knowledge of Atma Tattva are misguided, but those who are devotees of the Lord and have perfect realization of transcendental knowledge are not bewildered. Hari Bol.
Thank you, sir. Very clearly read. So they are talking about whole in this particular purport. If you see, anybody who does not understand this Atma Tattva, that is, I am not the body, I am the soul, and we are part and parcel of Krishna, becomes attached to the fallible shoulders like body, children. So when they're talking about soldiers, what do we normally depend on? So soldiers are supposed to protect us. So normally a person starts believing that our body will take care of us. Somewhere body in the sense, I will tell, for example, I would have earned and kept money. That will take care of me. Two things will happen. Either some thief will come take the money, and that's just not possible, Mataji. That is too far. Or we will die and leave the money. Either ways, the money goes away from us. So our body is not taking care of us. So it is not our soldier. Okay, maybe the children will take care of us, and I don't have to tell in Kali, our children taking care of us is more becoming like a myth, right? And wife will take care of us. We have no idea our spouse, how well they'll be able to take care of us, because as we are going to be aging, so will they age, right? So all of them are fallible. So all we are talking about is most of the time, if you talk about a child, at the age of 5, if the child is dependent on the mother and the father, it is very nice. But the same child after 20 years, at the age of 25, depends on the 55-year father. They don't call the child great, they call him crazy. Yes or no? If you tell a 25, 30-year guy sitting in the house and eating the food of the father, cooked by the mother, doing nothing in the house, do you feel good about the guy, dependent fellow? No, right? Both, daughter, son, both I'm saying.
Yes.
Do you
Yeah,
appreciate them? So dependency in the material world is condemned. Whereas if you talk about Pandavas were very dependent with Krishna, right? Dependency on Krishna is appreciated. That is why spiritual world and material world are sometimes whatever is great here is considered stupid there and vice versa. Here the servant is the lowest role because the servant master stops the servant once the servant becomes crippled, and the servant ignores the master once the master is unable to pay. Whereas in a spiritual world, such a thing never happened to Hanuman. Hanuman's role was permanent and eternal. Whether Hanuman overslept, underslept, whether he was awake, whether he did his duty or not, whether Ram was planning to show his darshan or not, he would continue his seva. That is where they are talking about. So any person who was totally devoid of particularly this particular thing, thinking that the soldier kind of our own body or our spouse or our relatives will save or India, the nation will save, all that is a myth and that's not going to happen. The entire world is asasutam. I'm not telling it's a dream, but where they are comparing it with is the fact that there will be destruction for the entire world, right? Because we've seen it. There is nobody in the world you can say is living forever. You may maximum tell that our lifeline is 100 years. We had a very healthy life, which I agree. But eventually at the age of 100 or 102 or 105 or 110 at max, the person would have died, right? So similarly, children will also see their fathers die, gone, mother gone, grandfather gone, all one after the other are going. But what happens is that with the constant struggle with the material nature, because that is why they call ourselves also soldiers, because we keep fighting every day. It's like survival of the fittest is a real term which we have to use. So the material world is more like a dream, right? So that is why two examples are here. Here it is just toss. There is no one person in the world who does not have problem. They may not tell us the problem. We may not be aware of the problem because it's just like the tip of the iceberg. what is seen is the tip and what is not seen is under the waters, right? Like that, some of them, we don't see their problem. It's just a small tip we see, but within them, they will have a lot of problems which we don't get to know. Without knowing this, we keep telling, Arey, yaar, he's very happy, he's free, or, he does not have problem. Everybody are being tossed and our conditions are exactly like the foam bubbles. The bubbles when we are small, I think I used to love. I think most of us will love. Yes, some. Right? Small bubble, big bubble. All of them are like bubble, whether it's our wife, children, husband, society, countrymen, religion. End of the day, what happens is, when we are there, we get into the temptation telling, I want to be a part of the community. Once you go into the community, you feel, I want to get a recognition there, prestige. Prestige is nothing but self-importance, which is magnified I. See, we tell self-esteem. Self-esteem has a very thin line. Most of the time, self-esteem will not talk about self-respect. It will talk about ego. And the word they use to replace that word is self-esteem. Right? So the point where we are coming from is the country, all of them, we want recognition. Means what? We want importance for ourselves. We're all becoming mini Ravana and mini Hiranyakashipu in our own terms. Right? So all these friends, all of them are not going to be there forever. They're all going to fall. And everybody will ditch us in some way or the other. Just as a classic example, I was telling in the morning. The 15-year child was depending on the 10-year child. Both the parents, mothers were depending on it, were hopeful it will come, but they left off. Which is why Krishna is called Achyuta. I think Achyuta is the 101 name. I think, yes, 101 name in Vishnu Sahasranamam is called Achyuta. And there is a specific reference to this term Achyuta by Rukmini. When Rukmini is writing her love letter, and if you don't like me calling it a love letter, you may go ahead and call it as Sindur letter or whatever. But ultimately, what she writes is a nice piece of letter, right? To Krishna. Hi, Krishna. Right? Shritwan, like, please, after listen. So we say love is blind, right? You've not seen. Rukmini never saw Krishna, but after one of their casual conversations, she also asks, right? Krishna asks Rukmini. He says that, what is it, why did you love me? Let me get this letter for you. Rukmini love letter. Right? Let me, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Acharya. So what happens in this letter is when she writes this letter, Rukmini, this is her message, right? She's looking forward for Krishna to come and take her. In the letter, she addresses Krishna as Achyuta. So when Krishna asks her later, how is it you're so confident that I will take you back or I'll pick you up? The first thing she will tell is because your name is Achyuta. Achyuta means slipping and falling. Achyuta is at any point in time you don't slip. So she's saying that you are so great that you are called Achyuta, which means that at no point in time you will let go of me. You will never let go of the devotee. It's a very beautiful thing. She says, Shrutva Gunan. Shrutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara Shrindatam Te. That means Shrutva Gunan. I've heard your quality. She never saw. Many times we tell, I have not seen God. If Krishna comes, immediately I'll surrender. Nothing. We will not surrender. We will ask, which drama company are you from? We saw Duryodhana. He never surrendered. He saw Krishna eye to eye. And we are no different from Duryodhana. At least I am not. Right? I may not even recognize Krishna. If Krishna knocks the door, I may even hesitate to open the door. I don't know where he is. He is genuinely Krishna. But Rukmini just heard about it. So why I'm saying this is so powerful, this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter 52, verse 37. 10.52.37. The beauty of this particular verse is it says, Shrutva Gunan, I've heard of your quality. Right? And that is where she fell in love. So hearing about Krishna will make you fall in love with Krishna. Talking about Krishna will give you the connect with Krishna. Why do people talk so much about their children? Your child, you keep quiet. No, you just see, enjoy and keep quiet. No, you want to talk because you want to increase your connect. So when you talk, which is Kirtan, which is what Sukha did, that is great. He had the chance to talk about it. This is extremely important things, right? You have a chance to talk means that you're actually elevating yourself in bhakti and you are connecting to the Lord. So with both of this, back into our main words. So with both of this, what is happening? The human civilization, which is what they're talking about. Shankaracharya died when he was 32. Our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disappeared at the age of 48. It does not matter how many years you live. It is how well you value and how you actually do this to God. How you are able to talk about Krishna Katha. Time is Sudarshan Chakra. Most of the time, and I'm experiencing this personally, and I'm sure most of you will, before doing spiritual activity, we technically should be having more time, right? Because we don't indulge in that chanting of 16 rounds, 2 hours, whatever all put together, let's take it as 2 hours or 2.5 hours we do a day. But than earlier, today we feel there is so much time because Krishna is time. Sudarshan Chakra is time. It is very closely related. If you see the clock, right, the spokes in Sudarshan Chakra is 360. The clock also has that. So everything is, Sudarshan Chakra is nothing but Krishna himself who magnifies as Kala Roop, which is time. And therefore, when you actually, and this was the first session which my first teacher told in ISKCON here, Mangaluru, she was explaining to me, telling that time will expand. And I look like this, like how time will expand. It did expand obviously for gopis because that rasa dance one night turned out to be Brahma's one night for them, right? So you can imagine it was 4.32 billion years, right? That was the level at which it expanded. For us also it will expand. We will never come across, as we see devotional service progressing, we will never see shortage of time for material activity. We will see we are able to think clearly, we are able to find solutions properly, and we have time more of it. Sometimes we feel overwhelmed because we are still in the material world, but most of the time we feel we are better off than what we were earlier. How many of you all agree to this?
I completely agree.
Thank you, bro. Hare Krishna. Totally thinks there is a paradigm shift. I used to think how you do, I feel it's easier after you entering into this. Shloka 5, Hare Krishna. Come on, I want more devotees to chant. Obviously, I'm very happy Priyadarshini Mataji is chanting, Usha Mataji is chanting, Prabhu, Mahesh Prabhu is chanting, but this is all great. Dr. Prabhu, please, Parik Prabhu, please chant, all of you all.
Hare
All
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma.
Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma.
Bhagavan Ishvaro Harihi. Shrotavyah Kirtitavyascha. Smartavyaschetchatha Bhayam. Hare Krishna. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. O descendant of King Bharata, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul, the controller and the savior from all miseries. Purport. In the previous verse, Sri Sukadeva Goswami has described how the foolish materially attached men are wasting their valuable time in improvement of the material conditions of life by sleeping, indulging in sex life, developing economic conditions, and maintaining a band of relatives who are to be vanquished in the air of oblivion. Being engaged in all these materialistic activities, the living soul entangles himself in the cycle of the law of fruitive actions. This entails the chain of birth and death. Sorry, Mataji, that message came. 1 second. Being engaged in all these materialistic activities, the living soul entangles himself in the cycle of the law of fruitive actions. This entails the chain of birth and death in the 84 lakh species of life, the aquatics, the vegetables, the reptiles, the birds, the beasts, the uncivilized man, and then again the human form, which is the chance for getting out of the cycle of fruitive action. Therefore, if one desires freedom from this vicious cycle, then one must cease to act as a karmi or enjoyer of the results of one's own work, good or bad. One should not do anything, either good or bad, on his own account, but must execute everything on behalf of the Supreme Lord, the ultimate proprietor of everything that be. This process of doing work is recommended in the Bhagavad Gita 9.27 also, where instruction is given for working on the Lord's account. Therefore, one should first of all hear about the Lord. When one has perfectly and scrutinizingly heard, one must glorify his acts and deeds, and thus it will become possible to remember constantly the transcendental nature of the Lord. Hearing about and glorifying the Lord are identical with the transcendental nature of the Lord, and by so doing, one will be always in the association of the Lord. This brings freedom from all sorts of fear. The Lord is the super soul, Paramatma, present in the hearts of all the living beings, and thus by the above hearing and glorifying process, the Lord invites the association of all in his creation. This process of hearing about and glorifying the Lord is applicable for everyone, whoever he may be, and it will lead one to the ultimate success in everything in which one may be engaged by providence. There are many classes of human beings, the fruity workers, the empiric philosophers, the mystic yogis, and ultimately the unalloyed devotees. For all of them, one and the same process is applicable for achieving the desired success. Everyone wants to be free from all kinds of fear, and everyone wants the fullest extent of happiness in life. The perfect process for achieving this here and now is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is uttered by such a great authority as Srila Sukadeva Goswami by hearing about and glorifying the Lord. All a person's activities become molded into spiritual activities, and thus all the conceptions of material miseries and thus all conceptions of material miseries become completely vanquished. Thank you, Mataji. Sorry, Mataji, I couldn't see in the small screen.
Thank you so much for reading. Hare Krishna. So what they're talking about is obviously Arjuna, descendant of Bharata. So that is what he's addressing. He says that once you hear Shravanam, glorify, Kirtanam, automatically you will remember the Krishna, who is none other than the one who's Paramatma in the heart, right? And the previous verse, what the Sukha says, he says that materially attached people are wasting time. Obviously, they feel the same with us, right? We saw this in Bhagavad Gita. Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutana means opposite feeling both of them they have. So here they think that we are wasting time. They feel that the others are wasting time. Paschat Jagriti Karmani. So what he does involves himself with only sleeping and sleeping, mating. That is it. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and that his major focus of Dharma or Artha will always be only Kama. He doesn't think of anything else. So typically so what happens? We saw that in the previous verse also, right? Abrahma Bhona Loka. So what happens from Bhavanma to here? We are only going up and down. We will do nothing other than moving from there to here. Nothing else happens. So therefore, 84 lakh species Brahma has created. Like he is the, what do you say? Sarga, Visarga. Visarga means secondary creator. He has created so many types of species, and we will again come back in one form or the other. And maximum, if we have knowledge, we'll be analyzing, okay, this time I was born human. Therefore, I will never be born as an animal. All these our own things, which is not like that. You can be born as a, what should I tell, worm, or you can be born as a human. All of this entirely depends on the karmic activities we do. Though animals don't technically talk about karma. It's basically a vicious circle. So we are going back and forth. And that is what Prabhupada is also telling. Depending on our good karma or bad karma, we just enjoy again and again in the material world. So that is why we don't need both. Most of the time is a question which I want to ask. What is it you want? You want good karma or you want bad karma?
Don't want both.
Sorry, thank you.
Don't want both.
Neither.
Yeah, but if you ask this, till about one verse earlier, people will be thinking, why you don't need good karma? We need good, na? The reason is if you have good karma, you will go to heaven. You will again stuck there. It's like you're flying there, right? Flying school or your visa. You enjoy the benefit, like your credit card benefits. You enjoy all of the limit goes back, you don't know. You come back to your square one. So which is why we are telling Yet Karoshi, Yet Ashnasi, Yet Juosi Dadasi, Yet Tapasyasi Kauntaya, Tat Krushma Madarpana. Whatever you do, whatever you speak, whatever you do, one line, you will give everything to an offering to the Lord, and therefore that is what is important. Eating vegetarian does not make you great. Monkey also is vegetarian, right? Elephant eats vegetarian. So what is great? Eating vegetarian is sanctioned, but giving it to Krishna and eating is sanctified. That is exactly what we are talking about. So whatever we are doing, we have to connect it to Krishna. So otherwise, the purpose is not yagna. So the entire yagna, whatever you do, lokam karma bandhanaha, everything else will tie you with loka. So the only thing which will de-link you from the loka is trying to focus on Krishna. So talking about this makes our nature very similar to Lord, which is what Krishna says, right? You will attain my nature. Automatically, you will attain that nature. And therefore, Lord in the super soul, present in everybody's heart, that can be revealed only by listening. That is why I said, Atha Shri Krishna Namadi, Nabave Granam Indriye, Seven Muke Jigvayam, Swayameva Spuratadaha. When you speak about him, automatically all of that will come from our heart. So there are very cases of men, we saw that, right? Karmi, Yogi, Karmi, Jnani, Yogi. But ultimately, Bhakta is the topmost. That is why he says, right? Yoginam api sarvesham madgatir antaratmavan shraddhavan bhajate yamam samam yukta tamomata. So of all the yogis, right, Bhakta is the top. So everywhere the link is coming to Bhakta. Whether you take that, whether you take Ashtanga Yogi, whether you talk of Brahma Jyoti, which is the Bahunam Janmanam Ante also, he is telling Vasudevam, which is the highest. He is clarifying that. So everywhere it is talking about Krishna only. That is why even he says, Brahmanavi pradistaya amritasya kasyacha shashvatasya dharmasya sukasya shantya kasyacha. So everything, right? Brahma Jyoti is nothing but his energy. He tells in every shloka. Which is why Isha Upanishad 15 sloka says, Hiranmayena patrena, satyasya pilitam muham tasman shushanapa vrinyu, satya dharmaya drishte. So basically he's telling what he is, remove that effulgence. Show me your face, which is devotee. So the devotees are telling that only. And Sukha will later in the coming verse, which I think Pran Chaitanya Prabhu will take next week, he will very clearly tell why you are running after someone who is great. I am a living example. I was a jnani, I became that. You take yogis, 9 yogendras became devotee. Sanat Kumaras became devotees. But you don't see devotees coming down into jnanis. You don't see that. Because the path is always upward. The next important shloka, 6th shloka, I request all of you to chant this. This is there in our important, of course, 5th shloka is also important, but in our memorizing shloka, this shloka is specifically there. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Vyam Swadharma Parinishtaya. Sorry, Prabhu. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Vyam
Etavan Sankhya Yogavyam
Swadharma Parinishtaya
Swadharma Parinishthaya
Janmalabha Parapurusham
Janmalabha Param Pumsam
Te Narayana Smritihi
Ante Narayana Smritihi.
Hare Krishna, somebody please read.
Can I read, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu, please go ahead.
Translation purport by His Grace Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Purport: Narayana is the transcendental personality of Godhead beyond the material creation. Everything that is created, sustained, and at the end annihilated is within the compass of the Mahatattva, material principle, and is known as the material world. The existence of Narayana or the personality of Godhead is not within the jurisdiction of this Mahatattva, and as such, the name, form, attributes, etc. of Narayana are beyond the jurisdiction of the material world. By the speculation of empiric philosophy, which discerns matter from spirit, or by cultivation of mystic powers, which ultimately helps the performer to reach any planet of the universe or beyond the universe, or by discharge of religious duties, one can achieve the highest perfection, provided one is able to reach the stage of Narayan Smriti, or constant remembrance of the personality of Godhead. This is possible only by the association of a pure devotee, who can give a finishing touch to the transcendental activities of all jnanis, yogis, or karmis. In terms of prescribed duties defined in the scriptures, there are many historical instances of achievement of spiritual perfection, such as that of the Sanakadi rishis or the 9 celebrated yogendras, who attained perfection only after being situated in the devotional service of the Lord. None of the devotees of the Lord ever deviated from the path of devotional service by taking to other methods as adopted by the jnanis or yogis. Everyone is anxious to achieve the highest perfection of his particular activity, and it is indicated herein that such perfection is Narayana Smriti, for which everyone must endeavor his best. In other words, life should be molded in such a manner that one is able to progressively remember the personality of Godhead in every step of life. Hari Bol.
Thanks, very beautifully said, very beautifully read. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So just knowledge of, right? So highest perfection of life achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by what? By all this is not just sufficient. As long as you don't remember Narayana, everything is waste. If you notice this, if you go back to our first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, that is what it says, right? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jana Yasya Shivai Ragyam Jnanam Chayata Etukam. That means what does it happen? It cuts off Vairagya and gives you Jnana. This is one. But if you're talking about Dharma Haswanushtita Kumsha Praktenu Kadashwaha Potpadeyati Ratam Shramayeva Kevalam, that talks about this line. Occupational duty. Right? If your duty of occupational duty, performing occupational duty does not give you a connect to Krishna, then it is Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam, which means exactly it is, coinciding with the statement which says that if that is not leading you to Krishna, then it is only waste of efforts. You have to think of Krishna because anything you endeavor, whether it is matter or spirit, the idea is to go to Krishna. If you do not go to Krishna, then there is no point. That is why I said any question, even if it is the most intelligent question, does not link Krishna or does not have Krishna in center or anywhere, then that question is waste. But even a smallest, stupidest question, according to us, when it has Krishna, is considered as the greatest question. So that is why we see in issue also. Vidyam sa vidyam cha este vedo mayam saha vidyamrityum tipa vidyamrityum ashtate. So basically vidya avidya, both you learn parallelly. Why do we learn this? Because we have to, with the help of vidya, we will remove our avidya and get out of this nascence and go back to Krishna. Ultimate objective is to go back to Krishna. अतः पुंजीद्विजस्तेषा वर्णाश्रम विवादशः स्वनुस्तिष्यस्य धर्मस्य. What are we talking about again? Hari Toshanam. So going back to Krishna, Samsiddhar Hari Toshanam means thinking about Krishna is the best thing. Other than that, nothing. Savai Pumshan Paro Dharma. Of all the Dharma, what is the most important thing in which we have to do? Savai Pumshan Paro Dharma Yato Bhaktir Adokshaje. Haituki Aprasitata Yatatma Suprasidati. All of these are the first canto, second chapter shlokas in a row. Right? What is the thing? Ultimately, all of them are same as this. If you have to think of Krishna. Does Krishna say this? Yes, he says that. That is the main shlokas in 8th chapter. Right? Antakalam Chepa Eva Smaran Mukti Kalevaram. Anybody knows the shloka? You all tell me. I think Bhagavad Gita, you all will be Pakka. Hare Krishna. Antakalam Chepa Eva. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Antakale च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरं यः प्रयाति समद्भावं याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः.
Prayati samadbhavam. So basically, nasti. So you can be sure Krishna is giving guarantee that you will be doing that. That is why he is very clearly saying that whatever you're doing, the 3 shlokas are like a triangle, right? Therefore, finally, what does he say? Yam yam vapi smaradbhakam tvajatante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada sadbhava bhavitah. Again, he is talking about whatever nature you want, you will get. Tasmat sarveshu phaleshu. Therefore, you always think of me. Anushparan yudhyacha. Always think of me and work everything about me. That is what is linking us to Yat Karoshi Yadashnas. Can you see everywhere? We keep thinking this Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Ramayanam, all of these are different. No, they are all connecting you to one, which is Krishna. So everything is Ante Narayana Shmritihi. That is the ultimate step which we should be doing. Mataji, we'll stop. The next verse onwards we'll do later. Because from the... Yeah, Hare Krishna. You can stop. So let me give you a summary of this chapter. Totally, we are talking about this particular chapter, which is the first chapter of the second canto. 1 to 11 verses talks about superiority of Bhakti. Halfway through, we saw superiority Bhakti. And the first verse talks about what are the benefits on all the transcendental things and what is the greatness of this subject matter, right? Talking about Krishna. Verse 2, today we saw about Grahameti, right? Grahameti has many things, except for the fact he will not chant here. But even for a Gramati, when he chants, hears and remembers Krishna Katha, he can go back. And why is this coming up? Because Pradikshit is clearly asking what is the ultimate duty of every person, especially a dying man, and therefore what he should hear, what he should chant, and what he should remember. He talks about this in the first canto, 19th chapter, couple of verses towards the end. And finally, so what happens in the Gramadi's case is telling what he should not do. Sukha is telling you should not be a Gramadi because he will only spend his night sleeping and day working hard, which is not worth. And all those whom he is depending on, family, relatives, are like the fallible soldiers. Depending on that, you will also go down the drain, right? Because they don't see the end coming. They just go on in the chakra. Therefore, which is what the fifth one starts with Tasmat. That is why I brought this Antakali. The 3 shlokas also say Tasmat, right? Anushrani Midacha. Why it does mean therefore? Therefore means why it is connected to the previous verse. Because you are only going to go down the drain, please think of Krishna. He is bringing that up. And the 6th work talks about this even Jnani, Karmis and Yogis can achieve perfection. Right? That Etav and Samkhya Yogavam. So even Jnanis and Karmis can achieve perfection. That is why Bahunam Janmanam Ante. How can they do? They will, by meeting a devotee, somehow they will become one among the group. And the 7th stoka talks about many self-realized souls and sages have heard Krishna Katha, which we will see in the next verse onwards, where you will see even Sukha giving himself as an example in the 8 and 9. He will talk about himself because if you see all of them, Atma Rama Samuge, Nirtnante Apurukrame, Purvanta Hetu Kim Bhattam Itam Bhuto Guru Hari. Why he is telling Itam Bhuto Guru Hari? He is saying because all these are self-contained souls, completely self-satisfied. Still Krishna Katha is attractive. And that is what he will tell in 8 and 9. And then we will go to the 10th verse, which is the Falastuti, which is hearing Bhagavatam. How the faith, and you just get so addicted to Krishna. Because Krishna himself and Bhagavatam is not different. We saw this. Krishna se damo pagate dharmanyana divi saha alo nashta drishta meva purana kudyunodita. Krishna, after going to his abode, what happens? He stays as Bhagavatam. For whose sake? For our sake. So that is why we fall in love with Krishna, because we are actually hearing Krishna from Krishna about Krishna. That is what it is about. And the 11th verse talks about Krishna Nama Kirtan, which is the top most. We saw about the Krishna, Bhagavatam is nothing but fame of Krishna. Name of Krishna is Kirtan. Right? And 12th and the 14th verse will talk about quality of life matters, not the quantity, which we were talking about, right? 32 years you live or 100 years you live. Trees live for thousands of years, which we have read in Isho. This will be a repeat of that. And then 15th to 39th verse talks about Ashtanga Yoga for attaining liberation. How one practices or why Ashtanga Yogis practice this to achieve, which is why I told the entire chapter 1 is more focused on the Brahman realization level. I'm not telling it focuses on realization, but they are talking about the first stage, of transcendental. So that is the option. And with that, remember one thing, whether he's a Ashtanga Yogi, largely follows all this Yama, Niyama, Asana, which is the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right? And in Dhyana stage, when they remember the Paramatma, that is where they have a route for liberation. If they are not, like they will think of Paramatma and the end is Paramatma. The Jnanis and Yogis think of Paramatma. Mainly Ashtanga Yogis think of Paramatma. But the destination may not be Paramatma. Only if the destination is also Paramatma, they will be getting liberated into what they want. Otherwise, they just sit here again and again. Right? And therefore, we will also be talking towards the end, which is the 26th and the 28th verse, where we will be talking about the Virat Rupa of Krishna and how the Virat Rupa connects to the various Angas of Krishna. Currently, 1st and 2nd canto is talking about the Padam of Krishna, the base, the Padam, the foot of Krishna is the verse canto 1 and 2. And the rest of the names and Angas, which we'll be seeing in the coming verses. So broadly, this is your snapshot, which is a very small canto, much smaller than the first canto. So we will relatively finish, and I think by another couple of classes, we will be finishing the 2nd chapter. And my request to all of you is please start revising your first canto, because anytime Prabhu will give us our closed-ended questions and we should be ready for that. and open-ended questions will come and closed-ended. If we concentrate too many days on that, we will not have time to catch up with our second canto. So with that, I will end this chapter. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah anantakoti vaishnavijay Srila Prabhupada Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram.
Krishna.
Attendance.
One question, Mataji.
Yes,
One
Prabhu.
question.
Attendance link is posted, so please go ahead. Yes, Prabhu, please go ahead. Let me try if I can answer. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, we still don't have the open book questions announced. Correct?
Okay.
Correct? Am
Sorry,
I right? Open book questions to be submitted in 2 weeks. Do we have that announced?
We have not yet announced, but we will have time provided Prabhu has not shared. Prabhu hasn't shared the questions as yet. Is that right? He hasn't shared.
Yeah, that is what is my understanding. I was
He has not
searching
shared.
for
He has
that.
not shared. He has not shared. So the time was right. We were technically supposed to take it up in 2 weeks from last week, but Prabhu has not given. So I will follow up with Prabhu because Prabhu has been busy. It will be posted in the group, Prabhu. Once we post, then we.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Prabhu has already shared. He shared the pages 21 to 24. Out of that, section 1, section 2, chapter 1 to 9 and 10 to 19. So he said out of those questions, select any one topic, and from the section 2 also one topic. And we have to select and give the essay by 18th.
Okay, so that time for the open book, you're talking about the open book assignment? Yes, that is 18. I think Prabhu already posted the date also. You'll submit by 18.
18th, yeah.
Prabhu had posted it, if I remember right, 3-4 days back. You're talking about the open book, sorry, Prabhu. First canto open book, which Prabhu himself has given the dates to avoid confusion.
Yeah.
Okay, can someone share it on the screen here? Because I was finding it difficult to.
1 second, Prabhu. You're talking about.
That is
Let us
fixed, no,
quickly.
Mataji. That is fixed, no?
That is fixed. Just 1 second. Let me stop live.
Yeah,
1 second. We've already repeated this, right? Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
1 second.
Because I want.
Okay,
I want
any
to clear
doubts?
my confusion.
Otherwise, we will go back to that. Can I end the thing? Nothing about Canto 2, right? So
No.
still in line.
We can stop the recording.
I'll stop the recording. Thank you so much, Nityangi Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.